From Governor's Comedy Club in Levittown, this is Sports Bash presented by TicketBash.com. TicketBash.com, where memories are made affordable and where you'll never pay a service fee. Sports Bash is also presented by Ryan Anthony's Heating and Air Conditioning Service, keeping Long Island warm for over 18 years, serving their customers in Nassau and Suffolk with pride, honesty, and integrity. For more information, visit www.liboilers.com. Sports Bash is also brought to you by the Embassy Diner, located at 4280 Hempstead Turnpike in Bethpage. Every customer is considered family at the Embassy Diner. Mention Sports Bash and get a free dessert with your meal. By Coach's Collectibles, your number one source for 100% authentic sports memorabilia and live public autograph events. Check them out online at coachescollectiblesny.com and make sure you stay tuned later in the show to find out about the Coach's Collectibles item of the week, and we'll also tell you about some upcoming Coach's Collectibles event. And by the Marty Lyons Foundation, the official charity of Sports Bash Media. For more information, go to martylyonsfoundation.org. Stay tuned later in the show. We'll tell you about this week's Marty Lyons Foundation annual gala. Hi again, everybody. Happy Tuesday. I'm Peter Schwartz. Welcome to Sports Bash. 516-465-3990 is the number to call. Make sure you are subscribing to Gov's Comedy Club podcast channel on YouTube and follow Sports Bash Media on X, Instagram, and Facebook. You can also listen to Sports Bash on Apple Music and Spotify. Later in the show, big topic of conversation, the New York Football Giants, and we're going to talk Giants with Patricia Traina from the LockedOnGiants podcast. Of course, the Giants in the news yesterday after they fired head coach Brian Daboll, so we'll talk to Patty about that. She also covers the Giants for SI.com. We'll have What's Hot at TicketBash.com, the Sports Bash Media poll question of the day, and we'll have the Coach's Collectibles item of the week. So I have known this guy probably over 20 years because I think we first met during the original New York Dragons, my run of 8 years, and his foundation was so instrumental working with the Dragons and also with the Islanders. And listen, if you've heard his name, if you're here on Long Island and you have any knowledge of what goes on here on Long Island, you know who my guest is here on the show. He has run the John Theissen Children's Foundation now for over 30 years, and they have a big gala coming up next month as well. And I want to welcome to the show John Theissen. John,
thanks for having me, Peter. Appreciate it. Thank you.
So you've mentioned to me off air a few times, and you mentioned with me and Tony before, this is your busy time of year because you got the toy drive going on, you got the gala going on. Before we talk specifically about those, it's 34 years now that your foundation has been in place helping children here on Long Island. When you think about 34 years, like what's the first thing that comes into your mind? Are you overwhelmed with the support that you've received when you we all are, yeah. You know, I'm not going to speak for Tony, but but 34 years, is it remarkable for you that from when it started to where it is now?
It is. It's still a grassroots foundation. I'll tell you, I started the foundation at my mom's house at Deep Lane in Wantor, and I remember coming during the holiday drive to that red house in Wantor, and it's been my passion. I mean, being 17 years old. And going into, I was a senior in MacArthur High School, and I had started getting.
Let's go Generals.
Yeah, let's go Generals. And I had started getting some bad headaches in my junior year, and it was the summer going into 12th grade that the headaches got worse. And that September 28th of that year, 1988, is when I found out I had a brain tumor. And I thought when I came home that day after a CAT scan, and my mom told me they had found a mass on my brain or at the base of the brain, first thing I did was pound my hands on the table and started crying. I said, "How long do I have to live?" This is back in 1988, and that holiday season, I was over at Schneider's Children's Hospital, which is now Cohen's, and unfortunately, I had to stay with the children who had cancer on the 4th floor. I was supposed to be on the surgical floor, but they didn't have room there, so I was on the 4th floor, and so traumatized by what I saw. Back then, there weren't kids like they get cancer and illnesses like now, and I had such bad post-traumatic stress that I met this one girl who would basically be in and out of there for cancer treatment, 7 years old, and she had no family support. My family and friends were always there, and this poor girl, Tasha, really never had anyone. And I left there a week later, and I said, I got to help out kids like that. And a few years later, I had to have a bunch of surgeries and radiation, and And I said, I'm going to help out kids like this. And it started in 92 as a holiday toy drive and just grew.
And 34 years later, you're involved in all of these events, and it's your full-time passion now to run this foundation. But I would imagine, I mean, you have a staff that works with you, but to have the support of all these companies and organizations on Long Island, and you know, we're a sports show, so I know you get a lot of support from the sports teams in and around the area. How important is that to the foundation to have that community and public support?
I couldn't do it without them. I couldn't do it without all my volunteers, my board, and most important, the community. Everyone was always applauding me. They're like, "Oh, John, you're an angel. It's incredible what you do." Listen, I used that typewriter back in 91 to type out my first letter. I kid you not. And I used to canvass the neighborhood. Back then, we didn't have social media podcasts. To get the word out, it was either the local paper or you had to canvass the neighborhood, and that's what I did.
And depending on how the typewriter was, you had to stick the white stuff inside the typewriter if you made a mistake, right?
And I wasn't a good typer, and my education was like second grade. But I was passionate about it, and I would walk around from neighborhood to neighborhood and get yelled at and place the papers in the mailboxes, and it just grew. And it's incredible. Without the support of the community, the companies, the groups, the clubs, the schools, it wouldn't be possible. We're all in this together, and it's just it's incredible, really.
So on this show, we talk a lot because Tony Walker, my producer, who also hosts the Knock 'em Dead comedy show here on Gov's Comedy Club podcast Monday through Friday from 11 to 12:30. We talk a lot about Billy Joel here on the show because Billy Joel is, my favorite musician ever.
Absolutely.
I feel like his music is the soundtrack of my life. And I bring this up only because I came to visit you a couple of weeks ago. I had not been at the new location. I had always gone to see you at the old place near the Wantagh train station. And I was driving around. I'm like, I'm going to stop in and see John. I've never been inside the new house because you took over this big, red house on Wantagh Avenue in Wantagh. I'm like, I'm going to surprise him. I'm going to stop in and say hello. And we were talking for a little bit, and then you showed me around the place, and there you have a piano that was donated by Billy Joel, and there's a nice picture.
The jukebox.
The jukebox. I'm sorry, the jukebox is
same
donated.
Thing to me.
Jukebox, piano, whatever it is. But the jukebox that is there, and there's a big picture of Billy Joel on top of it. Tell me, everybody, about that story and how Billy Joel is important to your foundation.
It's amazing. So I've always loved Billy's music as well, and Billy playing at the Garden every month made me a lot of money. I mean, I would personally buy tickets to every event just like everyone else, and I would use them for raffles and auctions, and it was a big thing for me. I never met Billy personally, but so when I was building this making this building new, then I put out a sponsorship for the jukebox, and I had gotten a call, and the call was that from this. The lady, his assistant, had said that Billy and Alexa, it's their daughter's birthday, and she has everything, so she wanted to give you the money for the jukebox. And they originally wanted the theater room, and I said it was already taken, and I had no idea who they were talking about. And it turns out, when she's turned, I said, "It's funny, it's the same name as Billy and Billy Joel." And she said, "It is Billy Joel." I said, "What?" I said, "How did he?" She goes, "John, he's been following you for like 20 years." And I honestly, I was just honored by that. I mean, because just obviously we all grew up on his music and part of Long Island, and you never know, and it's just it's incredible. It really is. I'm humbled by everyone's support. I really am.
And it's really, what you did with that place is amazing. I mean, it's such a fun place for kids who are involved with your foundation. There's pinball machines and all kinds of other activities. So when there are kids who are in distress or going through a hard time, what's the process for them contacting your foundation, and what exactly is it that the foundation can do for kids who are going through a hard time?
So generally, we help sick and underprivileged kids across Long Island. When I say that, it's hospitals, child care facilities, agencies, kids who are getting outpatient treatments, shelters, homeless shelters, and if it's an individual family that's not really that's just past treatment, they generally call us, and everything's got to go through a social worker. And once the social worker files the papers, we give them not only free parties at the Fun Center, which has a theater room, which has as you said, arcade games. It has an arts and crafts room. It has a wish room filled with toys. We also do wishes. We do medical expenses. We help with transportation to and from treatments. We have a pony therapy program. We really have it. We have the toy drive. We have the back to school program. I never ever wanted to limit it to one thing, and I always wanted to make sure that the funds, whatever was brought in, was going right to these kids directly, that there was no red tape, that you didn't have to worry about. The board knows. The board obviously is amazing, but when a child or a social worker reaches out to me and a kid wants a new PS5, or the kid needs money for the hotel for transportation and stuff, I don't have to go direct to them and ask them for permission. They know it's taken care of. It's done. And I've always, in the 34 years of doing this, I've always been able to, I've never said no to a child, no matter what. If we can't do something financially at that point,
and that's hard to do. And that's hard to do because, and obviously, with this show, we're connected very closely with the Marnie Lyons Foundation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they do a wonderful job as well. But there are some times where any charity is going, there are some situations that come up where a kid asks for something or a family needs something, and it's so hard to say no, but sometimes it just inevitably, depending on what the request is, it could be a no, and you don't want to say no, and it's unbelievable that you have never said no to anybody.
Well, we work with a lot of other foundations sometimes, like Marty, who does wishes and stuff, which is amazing. Like sometimes if they've had a wish, I'll get a call from like a group like Marty's, like a Make-A-Wish, or another group, if they've already had their wish and et cetera. I mean, they have so many families, and I'll help them out, whether it's a birthday party, gifts, or anything like that. We always have to find a way. And I've had kids come down to the wish room, which is filled with toys, and I've offered these kids, they come in and they're amazed by, they could have any toy they want, any gift they want. And I've had kids say they just want a winter coat. I mean, these are the children that we help out, and every community, every backyard has it. And it's so sad, and it's been my life and my passion. And I was really, really affected by what I saw that year on the fourth floor, and what I continue to see.
John Theissen is my guest. Of course, he runs the John Theissen Children's Foundation. The holiday gala is coming up on December 4th at Mulcahy's. We'll talk about that in just a couple of minutes. If you want more information on the foundation, you can go to www.jtcf.org. But you've also mentioned it's your busy time. The toy drive is well underway, and you can see these boxes all over Long Island at various locations. What's your life like now in the midst of this toy drive as we're heading towards the holiday season? And obviously, as we just talked about, kids are looking for toys, kids are looking for coats, whatever it might be. Tell us about the toy drive.
It's insane. My family doesn't see me this time of the year. I mean, now, it's crazy. It's 12 to 15 hour days, and we have to, companies and schools that request boxes, we drop them off, we pick them up. It's nonstop. Throughout this next 2 months, we collect and accept new unwrapped toys, gifts, monetary donations for kids across Long Island. It's a 24-hour day thing now. I mean, I go to schools, I speak to the kids. I think it's one thing. I think it's important. Like I have a Girl Scout group. Right before I came here, I had a Girl Scout group call the mom and say, can the kids, they want to collect toys, can they come and drop them off? I said, of course, and I want to talk to them about what the foundation's about. I think it's important for people to know, and what I've always prided myself in, and I get audited every year. I have to pay to get audited because we're at a certain point on Charity Navigator, which is an unbiased website, which rates nonprofits of a significant size. We were always rated 100% on that, which is the top you can be. And until we actually just purchased our building, we were rated 100%. Now we're 97 because of liabilities to assets, the ratio. It dropped because we own the building. But I've always prided myself in that. Like we're a top-rated 501c3, and it's just, we're here for the kids, and the toy drive is what we're known for. That's really what I'm known for.
Yeah. And sports is a big part of it too,
yeah,
because
absolutely.
You've been all over the place. When we met with the Dragons back in the day, and I know you've done some stuff with the Islanders, but another person and connected to me as well, because I work at WFAN, but I know how important Mike Francesa was to you.
Absolutely,
over the years.
Still is.
Still is. So what? Tell us how you met. Because people who don't know, because so many people have come up to me. And I've been working at WFAN since 2009. I covered the Jets, I've done updates and hosted shows. And Mike was always great to me. But so many people would come up to me and say, "Oh, that Mike, he must be tough to deal with." And you think about his on-air persona all those years. And I've told people, you could do this till the cows come home, and you'll never get me to say a bad word about Mike Francesa. So you've worked with him. You've been with him for a very, very long time. Tell us about Mike Francesa, how charitable he has been with you and your organization.
So I was lucky enough to meet Mike Francesa through John Murray, who owns Mulcahy's. He's like his best friend, and John's been involved with my foundation since day one. And one time, when I lived in an apartment in Wantagh, my wife and I John said he's stopping by with Mike, and I didn't know Mike, and all of a sudden he comes up the stairs, and it's Mike Francesa, and I was like flipping out. And from that day on, Mike was involved with my foundation. This gala, which is going into probably like its 27th year, Mike is the one who kicked it off. Mike used to bring the fan to Mulcahy's.
Yeah,
like
I was there a couple
of
of
course,
times. Yes,
right?
absolutely.
And him and Chris Russo would have the show leading up to the gala, and it was insane. And I would talk to Mike on the phone. Mike would have me on the phone for 5 minutes talking about the foundation and the gala, and they would hang up, and I would be getting calls from all over the place for donations. But Mike is incredible. Mike is the one who started this, and Mike, since he retired, obviously he's been I guess catching up with whatever. But I know that
he has a podcast too. That's
of
very,
course,
very popular.
and I know that I could always count on Mike.
Because there's so the thing is that there's still, I'm sure he would say this to you, even though he's retired. When something happens like yesterday when the Giants fire their coach,
right.
And you always, for years, and I grew up listening to the fan, and then obviously working there, but you always would want to hear what Mike and the Mad Dog had to say whenever there was a big story, and then after they split up. But you always want, and at least Mike now has this very popular podcast. Listen, we'd like you to listen to this podcast too, and I have things to say about it also, but the fact that Mike is still going strong.
Mike has done so much for the foundation over the years that like I can't even like discuss. Like he would be like, don't tell me. Mike really is a cornerstone, and with John Murray's help, obviously, John is the one who introduced me to him, and that's really where the gala started. Yeah. But speaking of the coach for Giants, so I feel bad because now I'm a diehard Jet fan since I'm 6 years old. Right?
We got our own problems.
Yeah, Marino used to put me to sleep crying, and
you'll have to go back and watch a rant that I did on the Jets.
I'll check that.
Tony fell out of his chair because of all the expletives that were coming out of my mouth that day. Remember, Tony?
I do.
But poor Coach Dable, after he won the NFL Coach of the Year, I had him at Mulcahy's for a Q&A, and I swear I jinxed him. I jinxed the Giants fans because as a Jet fan, I brought him in. And the first thing I did, so it was a whole Q&A setup, and Coach was great. He gave me his cell number and everything. I don't bother him, and he texted me on the way home, and he was like, great event, Theissen, this and that. And I don't bother these people, but the first thing I asked him on the stage, I said, Coach, I said, he's coming off his NFL Coach of the Year. And the Jets, this is when Aaron Rodgers was starting. Yeah. And I said, what do you think about the Jets? And the first thing he says, I don't care about the Jets. I care about the Giants. But as a human, as he was a great guy.
Yes.
He's a great guy.
Absolutely. And obviously it was a difficult situation the last few years. He was let go. Let's talk about the gala. And it's coming up on December 4th at Mulcahy's, and you got a lot of great things planned there that night. I know there's going to be some raffles and auctions and things, but you have a couple of New York sports area, celebrities that are going to be there. Pepper Johnson, former Giants Super Bowl winning player, Todd Zeal, former Met and current Met broadcaster. So you got a sports connection there as well. Tell everybody else about that night, what they can expect, and how they can get tickets.
So the gala on Thursday, December 4th at Mulcahy's, hosted by Roger and JP BAB, who's been involved with me since day one.
Awesome.
BAB has been involved with me since day one, and Roger and JP are another angels that make the foundation great. So we have this huge event where, again, there'll be more athletes to come. We have both VIP tickets and general admission tickets. Our general admission tickets are $75. You can come in sweats and a sweatshirt. We have top shelf open bar. I have an outside caterer that brings in a ton of food. We have Francesco's Bakery donates all the dessert.
Oh, they're amazing.
It's insane. Amazing. We have a ton of raffles. We have a huge live auction from everything from dinner at Rayo's to Super Bowl tickets to concert tickets to everything. And we have all these giveaways. And it's a great night. It's at Mulcahy's. And they can go right to my website, jtcf.org, for tickets. jtcf.org for tickets. This event right here is really the event that sets us up for the following year. I mean, this is the event that I need to be the most successful.
And the proceeds go directly to the foundation.
Right to the foundation.
Like you just said, sets you up for the following year. And it's it's the holiday season. It's a time for people to be not only expecting those gifts to come their way, but it's also a chance for people to be giving themselves. And this is an event where people can not just have fun, but also be charitable at the same time. So.
Yeah, it's a great event. And John Murray was just talking to me the other day, and he's like, he spoke to Mike, and Mike had told him that Pepper and Todd are like great guys. Yeah. I don't know if you ever met them.
I've met Todd Zeal a few times. I've never met Pepper Johnson. And I think I want to think after Pepper left the Giants, did he play for the Jets?
He did. I think he did. Yeah.
Played, and I think when
we
Parcells,
get all the handouts. Yeah, Lonnie Lott, Art Monk.
I think also when Parcells came to the Jets. He brought
Right.
some from
Yeah,
his
of course.
former Giant people
Leonard Marshall.
with him. But it sounds like a great event, and obviously you've done yeoman's work for 34 years, with the foundation. And again, that website is www.jtcf.org. And by the way, one of the great features about your place in Wonton, we talked about this because I was involved with that football thing recently that never really happened. But you found the dragon from the original Dragons, because there used to be this dragon outside the Coliseum, and somehow you found it. Now you have it on the roof of the house. So for those who don't know what I'm talking about, so the New York Dragons were an arena football team at the Coliseum for 8 years, 2001 to 2008. John was very, very involved with his charity. He had season tickets. And I guess when you came into the Coliseum, you saw this right in the front. Right in the front, there was like this dragon thing, and you found it. It's on the roof of your house right now. So tell everybody.
Yeah.
About
So the house. What I mean, it's not the house that I live in, but the house.
Where
it was an old doctor's
is.
office. It's 5,500 square feet, but it was a doc's office for 40 years. So we gutted the whole thing. So when I was out east one day, I saw this T-Rex, which I also put on the front parking lot, and along with the dragon. So I was talking like, the Dragons used to use this in front of their lot. So that is actually sits on our roof. So I've had people drive by and say, they thought it was a tattoo parlor or a Chinese restaurant. We've had it all, but no, it's a children's foundation. Yeah. And my problem is once I get into something, I'm going all out.
Yeah.
I found one dinosaur. There's 4 now in the front lot. I just got Wonder Woman as soon as you walk in. Batman. Yeah.
It's an amazing place. It's an amazing foundation. He is
awesome. Thank you.
An amazing human being, and we couldn't be happier to have you on the show. Best of luck with everything.
Appreciate
Thank you for coming down.
Thank you. So
good luck with the gala. Again, that's December 4th at Mulcahy's in Wantagh. A great night with the John Theissen Children's Foundation Holiday Gala. www.jtcf.org, and you'll have a blast with Pepper Johnson, Todd Zeal, and still more athletes and celebrities to be named. John,
right. Thanks again,
so much,
Pete. Appreciate it. Thanks, Tony.
He's John Theissen. When we come back, we're going to talk more about the subject we were just talking about, the Giants firing Brian Daboll. Patricia Traina from the Locked On Giants. Let me spit that out correctly. From the Locked On Giants podcast, and she also covers the Giants for SI.com. She's going to join us when we come back right after this. Hi, I'm Peter Schwartz.
And I'm Vinny Tickets.
We want to take a moment to talk about our fantastic sponsor, the Embassy Diner.
Embassy Diner has been a beloved staple in the restaurant industry for over 50 years. And the great thing about it is when you walk through the door, you're not a customer, you are family. Every visit promises to be filled with warmth, love, and respect.
And here's an extra treat. If you mention SportsBash during your visit, you enjoy a free dessert on the Embassy Diner.
Come on down to the Embassy Diner, where great food and great company.
In 1982, the Marty Lyons Foundation began with a single heartfelt mission: to bring moments of joy and hope to critically ill children by granting wishes that make their dreams come true. Since that day, we have touched the lives of over 8,500 families, raising over $43 million to grant wishes that offer a beacon of light in their darkest times. These precious wishes cost an average of $6,700 each, and your support is crucial to our mission. Every donation, big or small, makes a difference. And with 76 cents of it.
Welcome back to Sports Bash, presented by TicketBash.com and the Ryan Anthony Head Start Fund. I'm Peter Schwartz. 516-465-3990 is the number to call. And once again, we thank our first guest on the show, John Theissen from the John Theissen Children's Foundation, for joining us. And don't forget that gala coming up on December 4th at Mulcahy's in Wantagh here on Long Island. Obviously, one of the biggest sports stories in the last couple of weeks took place yesterday as the Giants fired head coach Brian Daboll, and the Giants in the midst of a 2-8 season so far. So they make the change that a lot of Giant fans were hoping they would have made even before the season and a little earlier this season, but it did happen yesterday. And with us to talk about that and everything else going on with the Giants is Patricia Traina, and she covers the Giants for the Locked On Giants podcast and also for SI.com. Patricia, it's Peter. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great, and you're a repeat returner here to Sports Bash, so we thank you for coming on once again. Obviously, the big news yesterday, Brian Daboll getting let go as head coach of the Giants, replaced on an interim basis for the rest of the year by Mike Kafka, the offensive coordinator. When you heard the news, what was your reaction to that?
I wasn't totally surprised. I think maybe the timing was a little bit of a head scratcher. I thought maybe Daboll would make it through the season and maybe they would fire, Shane Bowen, the defensive coordinator. But ultimately, the handwriting was on the wall. There was just too many repeat incidents that just weren't getting better. And, I can't sit here and say that I'm totally surprised or upset with it. I think it was coming, unfortunately.
And, the recent performances and the blown leads, most recently Sunday against the Bears, and they had that disaster in Denver, a few weeks ago. So I guess just the same things happening over and over and over again was just too much for John Mara to just, stand by and let go by. And this was, I guess it was going to be inevitable at the end of the season anyway. I guess they just figured that just let's end it right now and see what happens during the last 7 games of the year.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the season's over, even though there's 7 more games to go. They figure, let's see what Mike Kafka, who was named the interim head coach, what he can bring. Maybe he could be the long-term answer, maybe not. But the problem was that it was just the same thing over and over. The lack of discipline, the lack of pride, the questionable in-game coaching decisions. It was just all adding up. And after a while, what's that old saying about insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results?
Yep. Yeah. And so it was enough ultimately for the Giants. But I think also with the firing of Brian Daboll comes the follow-up question as to why Joe Schoen was left to stay on as general manager. Because I think when you poll Giant fans, I think there were probably more people that felt that Joe Schoen should have gone before Brian Daboll did. Were you surprised that they didn't just make one full swoop and go in a complete different direction? Because it certainly sounds like Joe Schoen will be back next year because they've already said he'll lead the search for a new head coach.
I wasn't surprised. Now, I don't necessarily agree with it because, look, the two of them came in together and they both didn't get the job done. So to say, oh, okay, Brian, you're out, but we're going to keep Joe, that doesn't make sense to me.
Right.
That being said, and I this is just my theory. I have no proof of this one way or another, but John Mara, unfortunately, as everybody knows, is fighting cancer right now. Right. And I don't, I've gone through cancer, so I know what it can do to you. So I would not be surprised if he's at a point where he says, okay, who were the lesser of the evils, so to speak, and can we get by with Joe continuing to run the show. And, Shane's done some good things and he hasn't done some good things, some things that haven't made sense. The Giants in their statement said, he's assembled this great young core of talent. Okay. But, there's been other things that he hasn't done that I think leaves something to be desired.
Like finding a kicker.
Yeah. Talent walk out the door, some of his contract negotiations, the salary cap, not using voidable years, which I still don't understand. So there's been some things that Joe Schoen hasn't done well that have hurt this team. But that being said, I think at the end of the day, and this is just my theory, that ownership looked at the two and they said, okay, who's the lesser of the evils? And they decided that was Joe Schoen.
Well, one of the things he did do well, and again, the rest of the story hasn't been written, but the drafting of Jackson Dart in the first round as quarterback has certainly paid off for the Giants. Now, he did get hurt in Sunday's game. He suffered a concussion, and I guess we'll figure out his status as the week goes on. But I would imagine that the drafting of Jackson Dart certainly had to play a role in John Mara deciding to keep Schoen on for at least another year.
Well, that all depends. I mean, was it that Brian Daboll said, hey, we got to get this kid, come, do whatever it takes? Mm-hmm. If it was Brian Daboll who was pushing for Jackson Dart, he's got to get some credit. Now right. Who Joe can get the credit is that he figured out how to make it happen. But to sit there and say that Jackson Dart was necessarily Joe Schoen's pick, we don't have proof of that. Right. I suspect that was an organizational decision that was driven by Daboll.
What is the latest on Dart? And I know as he goes through concussion protocol, like, the Giants will monitor that. But what is his status? Has he already been ruled out? What do you think? There's a chance he could play on Sunday. What have the Giants said about him?
Well, they haven't said anything just yet because obviously the news about Dable kind of canceled all the planned, day after conference calls and whatnot. But, Jackson Dart, he's going to be in the concussion protocol. I would be very, very surprised if come Wednesday, which is when the first injury report and the first update comes, that he's able to practice. But we'll have to see if he comes out and he's able to, maybe do non-contact practice, then maybe the concussion wasn't as bad or he made a lot of progress.
Right.
Would he be available on Sunday? There have been players who have come back from a concussion and not missed a beat the following week. Am I thinking that he's going to? I right now I would say 50-50. And that's going to bring up an interesting decision if he can't go, because do they go with Russell Wilson as the starter if Jackson Dart can't play, which I don't think they should, or do they turn to Jameis Winston, who would be my choice for the starter?
Well, I think that would be the right thing to do too, because he has the experience of being the backup. I mean, he has served as a backup for a number of years now. So to me, he almost fills that role a lot better than Russell Wilson would.
Yeah, you look at the skill sets of Jackson Dart and then Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. And remember, when they switched from Russell Wilson to Jackson Dart, they basically redid the offense. A lot of the offensive, finer points. They put in more design runs, RPOs, and all that stuff. This is all stuff that Wilson, just really wasn't as proficient running at this stage in his career. You look at Jameis Winston, his skill set is a little bit closer of a match to what Jackson Dart has to offer. So that's why I think it makes more sense if you want to stick with the same offense that has basically been kind of working for you for the most part. I think you've got to go with a quarterback who's similar to the one who is your starter.
We're talking Giants football with Patricia Traina from the Locked On Giants podcast and also SI.com. And, of course, the big story this week for the Giants, the firing of head coach Brian Daboll. Of course, that leads to speculation and all kinds of discussion as to who will be the next full-time head coach of the Giants. There's been so many names that have already been brought up, and Mike Kafka hasn't even had a chance to be the head coach on an interim basis for one game yet, but there's already names that are surfacing. A lot of people are talking about Bill Belichick. Would he come back from college if that doesn't work out for North Carolina this year? Does he come back? Is he a name? What other names do you think will surface as we start to think about who could be the next head coach of the football Giants?
Well, I know Steve Spagnuolo's name has come up. He had an opportunity to be an interim head coach, a few years ago. And that, he didn't get the long-term gig, but I know he's always wanted to be a head coach. So maybe his name comes up. Does Antonio Pierce's name come up? I think, ultimately, I would not be surprised if the Giants go with a defensive-minded head coach as opposed to an offensive-minded. So why I say that is because when you look at the state of the team right now, they've got talent on the defensive side of the ball, but they have not optimized that talent because, they just, for whatever reason, injuries, the scheme, whatever, it's just not a fit. It's not working. So, you've invested so much in that defensive side of the ball. Get a defensive-minded coach in here to fix that. Meanwhile, you hire a really strong offensive coordinator. And, I've heard, Josh McDaniels' name has been thrown out there. I mean, right now there's so many names floating around. Some people have even said Kevin Stefanski, who's still under contract with the Browns. I mean, so, I think it's kind of early. I put out a list of 5 guys on New York Giants on SI. But, I suspect it's going to be a defensive-minded head coach. I think that makes the most sense. And you just bring in an offensive coordinator who's really creative and who can work with Jackson Dart, maybe runs similar concepts to what Jackson Dart is so successful doing.
Well, Bill Belichick would fit that description of being a defensive-minded head coach. And even through all of his wonderful years with the Patriots, anytime you would talk to Bill about his time with the Giants, he always talks about how much he treasures his time with the Giants. Is that even a legitimate consideration now, or are there just too much baggage with him? And I'm not even just talking about his girlfriend, but is there just too much overall baggage for the Giants to even consider Bill Belichick?
I don't think it's going to be Bill Belichick. I think that ship sailed a long time ago. Look, he didn't get it when Parcells left years ago, all right, for various reasons. I highly doubt that's going to change. Girlfriend or no girlfriend. I think that ship has sailed. I know there are Giant fans who want him to come in here, but I don't think that's the direction they're going to go in for many reasons, but mainly because, like I said, that ship sailed. If they didn't do it years ago, and you just think, if they had done it at the time, maybe, Belichick would have been right around now planning to retire from the Giants. I would be surprised if it's him.
Patty, does Joe Schoen staying on adversely affect their search? Because there have been there's been a little bit of speculation that because they didn't get rid of Schoen also, that the top level of coaching candidates that would be available at the end of the year might not want to come work for Joe Schoen, because if the Giants falter again next year, he could be out the door as well. So do you think keeping Schoen on board will have an adverse effect on the Giants' search for a coach?
I think it could. I mean, Joe Schoen right now, he's in the 4th year of a 5-year contract. I suspect, I don't know this for a fact, but I suspect he's going to get a small extension just to get rid of that lame duck status. That's how, the Giants have always operated. But yeah, I mean, if you're a coaching candidate, a hot coaching candidate, do you want to uproot your family to come to an organization where maybe, there's going to be another upheaval at some point? So that's why, the decision to keep Joe Schoen, and, maybe that changes. I don't know. But, so far they've said, he's the guy, he's going to lead the head coaching search. I just don't agree with it. It's just, if you were going to make a sweep them both out. They came in together. They should have gone out together, having failed. And, the Giants are repeating mistakes of the past. This is what happened when Tom Coughlin left. They kept Jerry Reese, but they let Coughlin go. And they kept going through this where the GM and the head coach weren't on the same timeline. Well, they finally did it with, they put Schoen and Dable on the same timeline. It didn't work out. Okay, sweep them out because they're both equally, to blame, I think, and bring in a new regime and have some stability. And I guess they just didn't want to do that because they figured, okay, well, we started to build a young core, but, we don't want to risk tearing that all down again.
So there's 7 games left to go. The Giants are 2-8. Patty, give the Giant fan an optimistic reason to watch and really, really invest their time in the last 7 games.
Well, Jackson Dart's got to be it. I mean, even if he doesn't play this week, I doubt his concussion is season ending. I hope it's not season ending.
I hope so too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but he's the reason to watch. He'll be back. The kid brings moxie. He brings energy, enthusiasm. He's developing fine. I had a laugh when people say, oh, the Giants can't get rid of Brian Dable because Jackson Dart's going to falter. Let's give Jackson Dart some credit, shall we? The kid has worked his butt off. And, he got coaching. Don't get me wrong. But to say it's all Brian Dable's doing or Mike Kafka's doing or whichever coach you want to pick, that's really, not giving the kid a whole lot of credit, but he is the reason to watch right now. You don't have Cam Scatteraboo. You don't have Malik Neighbors. The defense is just struggling like we've never seen in or what, like we didn't expect it to. Jackson Dart's the only reason to keep tuning in, I think.
I would think that's a pretty good reason once he's healthy, and we'll see what happens with the Giants coaching search, and we'll look to your coverage on the Locked On Giants podcast at SI.com in the upcoming days as we follow along with what's going on in Giant Land. Patricia Traina, thank you so much for joining me here on the show once again. It's always nice to have you on the program, and we'll catch up again very soon.
Okay, have a good one.
Thanks, Patricia. Patricia Traina from the Locked On Giants podcast and SI.com. Still more to come here on the show. Coming up after the break, we'll have What's Hot at TicketBash.com. We'll have the Sports Bash media poll question of the day, the Coach's Collectibles item of the week. We're also going to do something a little different here on the show in the last segment. We've never done this. We're going to open up a couple of packs of sports cards when I come back, because I was just shopping a little bit before I came over here to the show, and I got a couple of packs of cards that we're going to open up. We'll see if I got any gems in there. And I'm also, since we're here at Governor's Comedy Club, I'm going to tell you a joke. So that wasn't the joke, Tony. I don't know why you were laughing, but I have a joke. It's not my own joke. I got it from somebody. I'm going to tell the joke when we come back right after this.
Always on the menu.
Visit the Embassy Diner located at 4280 Hempstead Turnpike in Bethpage. Hi, I'm Peter Schwartz.
And I'm Vinny Tickets.
We want to take a moment to talk about our fantastic sponsor, the Embassy Diner.
Embassy Diner has been a beloved staple in the restaurant industry for over 50 years. And the great thing about it is when you walk through the door, you're not a customer, you are family. Every visit promises to be filled with warmth, love, and respect.
And here's an extra treat. If you mention SportsBash during your visit, you enjoy a free dessert on the Embassy Diner.
Come on down to the Embassy Diner, where great food and great company are always on the menu.
Visit the Embassy Diner located at 4280 Hempstead Turnpike in Bethpage.
Every dollar going directly to supporting our families, you can rest assured your support truly changes lives. The Morning Lions Foundation operates 11 chapters in 14 states now, working tirelessly to reach as many children as we can. This dedication goes hand in hand with our commitment to transparency and accountability, earning us top ratings on Charity Navigator, Great Nonprofits, and Candid, which underscores our dedication to those we serve. The Marty Lyons Foundation grants wishes to children ages 3 to 17. And what really makes this foundation so special is our willingness to grant not only a first wish, but also consider a second wish to a child who continues to battle a life-threatening illness. We stand by these children, offering them hope and strength through the power of dreams, giving our children the courage to wish for more.
What's your purpose in life? Is your purpose in life to live in the big house and drive the nice car? No. Your purpose in this life is to make it a little bit better for those that follow and realize that we live for today to see a better tomorrow.
Visit MartyLyonsFoundation.org to learn more and get involved.
Welcome back to Sports Bash, presented by TicketBash.com and the Ryan Anthony Heating and Air Conditioning Service. We thank Patricia Traina from the Locked On Giants podcast for joining us in the last segment. Of course, John Theissen joined us in the first segment. During the break, I was talking to, and welcome back to the show, I'm Peter Schwartz, 516-465-3990. During the break, I was talking to Tony and about, Giants stuff, and I, while we were in the last segment, Tiki Barber texted me because I asked for a favor since I work with him at WFAN, and Tony says, why don't you get Tiki on the show? There's a little problem with that, though, as I just thought of, unless we pre-tape the interview at some point, because at 2 o'clock he goes on the air on FAN. So it just thought in my mind, well, I'm sure he would do it. I would just have to come in a little bit earlier and record the show. But I would think that'll happen. And listen, people have been asking me left and right, when are you getting Boomer on the show? I'm just waiting for the right time, because you know what? You don't want to exhaust that favor, unless it's the absolute right time. But we'll get both of those guys on. I mean, I think I have enough clout that I can do it. Before I get to the card break that I promised before the break, no pun intended, some sad news from New York sports came down just before the show. Michael Ray Richardson, former Knicks player, passed away today at the age of 70. He was battling prostate cancer, and he was a terrific player, an all-star player for the Knicks, back years ago. And of course, he'll unfortunately be remembered for his use of drugs that got him banned by the NBA. But you think about some of those Knicks teams in the 80s, and there were some really good Knicks teams that went to the playoffs, but he was also a star guard on some Knicks teams that weren't really good. And there was a time where he was really the only guy worth watching on that team, but he couldn't stay out of trouble with drugs, and unfortunately eventually got banned by the NBA, and he is gone, 70 years old, prostate cancer. So deepest condolences to his family and his friends. Michael Ray Richardson dead at the age of 70. Okay, before I came to the show today, I was across the parking lot at the unique Tri-County Flea Market, And of course, on the weekends they have the sports memorabilia vendors upstairs. Tony, I'm sure you've been up there before. They have a whole bunch of places, but when those places are not open, my son Jared and I like to head downstairs where they have some vending machines with cards. And although Jared was not with me today, I wanted to try this because I'm going to bring Jared on the show again at some point. We're going to do a much more extravagant card break, as they say in the trade. But I was walking around the flea market killing some time beforehand. I'm like, I'm going to go over to the vending machine and get a couple of packs of cards, and we'll have some fun on the show opening them up. So, and some of these packs are like put together by dealers. So what they do is, and this, I'm pretty sure this is what's going to happen. They entice you with the card that's visible on the front. And in these two cases, one is Keyshawn Johnson on the Jets and Anthony Rizzo on the Yankees. So, Tony, baseball or football? Which pack should I open up first?
Baseball.
Let's go to the baseball one. And we already know Anthony Rizzo. We'll go into my Yankee book when I get home. Of course, they make this impossible to open up. And I've got no finger. Oh, there we go. Of course, I ripped the bag. And, I'll put them up as they're interesting enough. So, obviously, Anthony Rizzo. And, Tony, let me know if I'm holding it clear into the...
Well, let me...
you want to zoom?
Yeah, let me zoom in here. Hang on.
Okay.
Give me a second.
Tony is playing with the controls, and he's going to try to move in the picture. But there's a beautiful Anthony Rizzo Topps Stadium Chrome card that was right at the top.
Hang on.
I got 15 minutes, Tony. Come on, let's go.
Just all right, let's see.
Oh, there you go.
All
All right.
Boom.
Good. There's the Anthony Rizzo. Michael Brantley, no big deal. Oh, look at this one. Here we go. Ron Gant.
Oh, nice.
Atlanta Braves. This was a Topps All-Star rookie. That's a good one right there. Former Yankee Randy Velarde. Again, was a reason to watch the Yankees when they sucked. Trey Mancini. Let's see. Anything good? Of course, see what happens? They get you to buy it with the card that's up front, and the rest of the pack is a bunch of crap. Here's a Met. Kevin Pillar, former Mets legend. Kevin Pillar. Tony's shaking his head. Who the hell is Kevin Pillar? You know who it is.
He was a great player in his day, but not with the Mets.
No, not at all.
The only thing he did with the Mets was got hit in the face. Remember? He got hit in the face with the ball?
Oh, yeah.
Bleeding? Yeah, that's it.
Here was a great John Sterling Yankee home run call. Oh. He was the most happy fella. Gio Urshela. Home run for Gio Urshela. He's the most happy fella. You don't remember him, John? Yeah, that was Cardinals, Jason Hayward, Nelson Cruz, Jared Walsh. All right, that's it for the baseball pack. And I'll sort that out in a little bit. Let me put that off to the side. And now we got the football pack of cards. Let's see what we can do with the football pack. Again.
Oh, so I should have opened it while you were...
What's that?
I should have opened it while you were
doing
baseball.
It's not you breaking the packs. It's me breaking the packs. I got to be able to do it. All right, so we got Keyshawn Johnson. That's a nice, another Topps, Chrome card. Topps doesn't make football cards anymore, so this is actually pretty nice. I don't have this one. And I'm pretty sure I have like every Jet card imaginable, and I don't have that one. Oh, look at this one. This one's interesting because I met Ron Jaworski, and I got to know him during my arena football days because he was one of the owners of the Philadelphia Soul. And here's an old, it's actually a flashback. It's a 1974 flash. It's a newer card. But look at Ron Jaworski in that really awful-looking uniform that I think they doctored up because they weren't allowed to use the team names. This football pack is already better than the baseball pack. Eddie George.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Another nice one. The football pack, much, much better. DK Metcalf, not a big deal. Dave Craig. And here's an interesting thing about this Dave Craig card. So he's playing for the Seahawks here in this card. He was also on the Chiefs, and he was the Chiefs quarterback when Dennis Byrd got paralyzed in the game. He collided with Scott Mercereau, and they were trying to sack David Craig when he was with the Kansas City Chiefs. Kenneth Walker, not a big deal. I don't know who that is.
Tell it to my mother.
Israel Abanikanda, not with the Jets anymore, but that was a Jets card. Oh, he was just traded last week. Quinnen Williams.
Oh, wow.
I get the Quinnen Williams card right after the Jets traded him. How about this? Jets first-round pick, former Zach Wilson. Hey, he sucked. Chandler Jones, Derek Carr, Kamara. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Adrian Peterson on the Saints. See, this is already a better pack than the baseball cards. Jared Goff here on the Rams. Of course, was now on the Lions. And Kendra Miller, another Jared Goff. Jared Goff fans. I got one on the Rams and one on the Lions. There we go. Told you this pack was better. And then Myles Garrett, another good player right there. So actually, that was a lot of fun. But there's a card show coming up on Sunday, and I think Jared and myself are going to go. And by the way, Bradley is away at college, so he will go to shows with us when he's home from school. But we'll do a much more. I wanted to give that a little bit of a go and see. Tony, were you mildly entertained by that? Mildly. Okay, good. So we'll try and make this a little bit more interesting in the upcoming shows. What's hot at ticketbash.com on the sports calendar tonight? The Knicks host the Grizzlies at the Garden. They'll host the Magic on Wednesday night. The Nets host the Raptors at Barclays Center tonight as well. St. John's basketball will host William and Mary Saturday at Carnesecca Arena. The Giants host the Packers on Sunday, and on Sunday night the Rangers host the Red Wings. And by the way, wearing the Islanders sweatshirt today. It's been a pretty good few days for the Islanders after they beat the Rangers at the Garden 5-0 on Saturday, and then last night 3-2 in overtime over the Devils. What a game. I think me and Jared woke up the neighborhood yesterday. We certainly woke up my wife, who was sleeping and the Islanders won the game. Poor Cheryl, we woke her up. Upcoming shows and concerts. Maroon 5 is at the Garden tonight. Z100's Jingle Ball is coming up on December 12th at the Garden. Stevie Nicks will be at Barclays Center on November 19th. The Jonas Brothers are at UBS Arena on November 19th and December 21st. Get the best seats at the best prices with no service fees at ticketbash.com. And I also wanted to mention this. Mike Del Judas. Did I miss this? This was okay. I wrote this into the script for last week. He was at Paramount over the weekend. I just didn't take it out of the script.
Oh, okay, yeah. I don't know if you had the wrong dates.
No, it's November 7th and November 8th. And I remember we were supposed to have a show last Tuesday, and I never took this out of the script. But if you went to the Mike Del Judas shows at the Paramount over the weekend, I hope you had a great time. Those are great shows. So there's Peter not proofreading his script. It's time for the Coach's Collectibles item of the week, and he scored the game-winning goal in overtime last night. Matt Barzell, framed 11x14 photo. It's absolutely beautiful, and what a great feed last night from Jonathan Drouin to set him up for the game-winning goal. That was amazing last night, and a huge win for the Islanders. Coach's Collectibles, your number one source for 100% authentic sports memorabilia and live public autograph events. Here are some upcoming events that I want to tell you about for Coach's Collectibles. Speaking of the Islanders, forward Emil Heineman, Wednesday, December 3rd from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. at Rip-It Card Company in Cedarhurst. And then, Met fans, you're going to like this. Mm-hmm. Met broadcasters Gary Cohen, Keith Hernandez, and Ron Darling, the best booth in baseball, Saturday, December 6th, 11 a.m. to 12:30 at Mulcahy's in Wantagh. A few years ago, we were at a Mets game. And this, if you ask my son Jared, I don't know why Bradley didn't come up with me that night, but I at the time I had a Mets season press credential, and we're at the game, and I took Jared up to the press box. Like maybe he'll meet, some of the guys and everything like that. Well, not only did he meet all three, he met Gary Cohen, Keith Hernandez, Ron Darling. He took a picture with all three of them and got an autograph from all three of them in the Mets press box at Citi Field. And I think if you asked Jared, it had to be one of the coolest things he's ever been a part of, to meet all three of those guys. And by the way, that is why for Met fans, I don't remember if me and Tony had this conversation before, but when Keith Hernandez got his number retired by the Mets, I know, I work with a few of them at the Fan, there were a number of Met fans who didn't think that Keith Hernandez should have his number retired. And again, I'm a Yankee fan, so I think I can have a good perspective on this. I think it was well-deserved, and it was not just solely because of his playing career, because remember, he was really, in essence, only a Met for a very short amount of time. He was a Met from 83, right? He got the trade was in 83, yeah. And then I think he left the Mets, 89?
Either 89 or 90.
89 or 90, right? So he really wasn't a Met that long from a playing standpoint, but if you factor in his entire body of work as both a player and as a broadcaster, because remember, Keith Hernandez for the Mets, he affected a whole bunch of different generations. Like if you were younger, if you're older now, you remember him as a player. Right. But my kids grew up with him as a Mets broadcaster, and I look at Butch Goring with the Islanders the same way. He won 4 Stanley Cups with the Islanders, but he was only an Islander player for a short amount of time. He came back as a head coach and an assistant coach and was a longtime broadcaster. So when the Islanders were retiring his number, my kids wanted to go to the game because they know Butch. They know of me speaking about him as a player, but they wanted to go because of him as the broadcaster. So I think it's the same. I think Keith Hernandez and Butch Goring are very similar situations where you can make the argument. Tony, you never thought twice about the Mets retiring Keith Hernandez's number?
Not at all, and he belongs in Cooperstown, in my opinion.
Oh, and I think we've talked about this. I would love to see Keith Hernandez and Don Mattingly. I know when we talked about this, when I was in Cooperstown.
Oh, that's right.
When I did the show in Cooperstown. This is exactly when we talked about this. When my kids were playing at Doubleday Field and I did the show from the Hall of Fame. It would be great. It would be ultimate because you'd have this New York baseball celebration if they were able to get Don Mattingly and Keith Hernandez in the Hall of Fame the same exact year. Because when they played, and we talked about it, the 2 best defensive first basemen in all of baseball played for the Mets and the Yankees at the exact same time.
Right.
And I think it would be great if they both went into the Hall of Fame at the very same time. Speaking of the Mets as well, third baseman Brett Beatty, Sunday, December 14th from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., also at Mulcahy's in Wantagh. For more information on all of these events, visit coachescollectiblesny.com. I'm going to give you the joke now.
Oh, okay.
I said before the break I was going to tell a joke. I think I'm going to need a couple extra minutes here on the show. So Bradley was home after his game on Saturday. Bradley came home for the weekend. It's always interesting when he comes home because, sometimes he'll spend some time with the family and sometimes he'll go run off with his friends, right? When he comes home, I want to come home for the weekend or after the game. Okay. Then we don't see him. But we were able to go out for lunch on Sunday. It was actually very nice. We went out Sunday afternoon, the 4 of us, for lunch, and we're in the car, and I'm surprised I didn't get into a car accident when Bradley told this joke, because we were going to have lunch at Dairy Queen. And so we got Bradley to give us a joke, and here's the joke. How did Burger King get Dairy Queen pregnant? Do you know the answer to that question?
No.
How did Burger King get Dairy Queen pregnant? Because Burger King forgot to wrap his Whopper. Now, Bradley tells this story, tells this joke, and I'm driving the car, and I'm crying laughing because it was like, listen, your son's away at college, they learn things and stuff like that and say things, but to hear the way he told the joke with such personality, and he enunciated everything so well. He projected his voice, and just maybe it was just the way that he told the joke. I couldn't stop laughing for about 5 minutes. I thought seriously I was going to get into a car accident. That's how hard I was laughing. Obviously, I didn't get Tony to laugh as hard as I laughed when Bradley, but I thought that was a very, very funny joke. Maybe somewhat inappropriate, but it was a very, very funny joke. So there you go. There's the Peter Schwartz comedy section of the show. It's time for the Sports Bash Media poll question of the day. We post a poll question every Tuesday and Thursday on the Sports Bash Media X/Twitter page. Giant fans, who should be the next head coach of the Giants? Bill Belichick, Matt Nagy, Mike McCarthy, or other? Comment below. And again, I always have to talk about this. When I say other, comment below. What does that mean? You have to comment below. So I'm going to go to my Twitter thing here, and I posted this this morning, 8:34 this morning. Bill Belichick has 18% of the vote. Matt Nagy has 18% of the vote. Mike McCarthy has 29% of the vote.
Wow.
Other, comment below, has 35% of the vote. However, only one person commented. John Gruden. Be a good choice as well. But again, and I feel I have to talk about this every time I do one of these polls, and I have comment below. That means you have to comment below. If you don't comment, then I don't know who you would have wanted me to put on the poll question. So of the people that I mentioned, Mike McCarthy has the most votes at 29%. The fourth annual Marty Lyons Foundation Evening of Thanks Gala is coming up this Thursday, November 13th at the Bourne Mansion in Oakdale. We'll be there. The Schwartz family will be there on Thursday night. It's such a great event. They're going to do a live wish reveal at this. They did it last year. There was not a dry eye in the house when they did this, and it's just it's the evening of great moments as they honor the people in the Marty Lyons Foundation family for their work during the year. There's auctions, there's raffles, just a great way for people to help wishes come true for kids who are going through a very difficult time. And Marty obviously will be there. Kenny Schroy, who was on the show the other day, of course, the co-founder of the foundation. Greg Buttle is always there. There's always a good number of former Jets and other celebrities. I think Butch Goring was there once that we've been to. So that's a great event coming up on Thursday. For more information, go to MartyLyonsFoundation.org. And of course, we had John Theissen on in the first segment. The John Theissen Children's Foundation will hold their annual holiday gala Thursday, December 4th at Mulcahy's in Wantagh. This week on the show, because we only had one show last week, we're going to have 3 shows this week. And of course, you remember the other day I kept going through days, and Tony kept saying, no. So we're on today. We'll be on Thursday. We'll also have a show Friday. We'll tell you about Friday's show on Thursday because we haven't put that together just yet. But we got a great show on Thursday. And again, because of the studio issues, we had to postpone this interview. But former Islanders defenseman Dave Langevin is going to be on the show. He was part of all 4 Islanders Stanley Cup championship teams. And as I mentioned, he doesn't do a lot of interviews. So you want to tune in for that because we'll get a chance to catch up with Bammer, a big part of those 4 Stanley Cup Islander teams. We will also be joined in studio on Thursday by singer Mark McLaughlin and former NFL player Gary Brown. They'll be a part of the second annual We Huddle to Help Flag football game on November 15th. That's this Saturday at Stotsky Park in Riverhead. So you want to stay tuned for that. It's a great event, a second annual event. Unfortunately, can't make it on Saturday. I'll be watching a certain long snapper do his snapping for the last time this season, the last game of the year. And my son Jared is calling me on the phone, even though he knows I'm probably still on the air, but it's okay. I'll be outside in just a moment. We'll also have a special edition of Sports Bash coming up Friday at 1 o'clock. And that'll do it for this edition of Sports Bash presented by TicketBash.com and Ryan Anthony's Heating and Air Conditioning Service. Thanks to my guests, John Theissen and Patricia Traina. Thanks to Tony Walker, everyone here at Governors. Thanks to our social media coordinator, Connor Kalb. Sports Bash is sponsored by the Embassy Diner in Bethpage, Coach's Collectibles, and by the Marty Lyons Foundation. Only 2 minutes over. It's not too bad. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Sports Bash back Thursday at 1 o'clock. Have a great day, everybody. Stay warm.